What's up guys, it's Ivan, and on this channel I provide tips, tricks, advice, and strategies for your graduate school applications. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. A couple of months ago, I requested to review my admissions file for the Harvard Graduate School of Education, which I attended in 2015-2016 academic year. And so when I requested this admissions file, they sent me over a package of my full application that I submitted for the program I applied to, which was at that time the Education Policy and Management program. In this video, I wanted to share the letter of recommendations that were part of my admissions file, part of the application that got me into that program, the Harvard Graduate School of Education, Education Policy and Management program. Alright, so for this particular program and maybe some other graduate school programs, they actually asked my letter of rec writers to fill out a little questionnaire, or like there's a ratings, which is optional. There's a summary evaluation, and then there's obviously the information that you input when you are requesting this letter of recommendation. So the rating scale, they pretty much ask about intellectual ability, analytical ability, creativity, and some other things that I'm not going to go through, but they ask like about 12 different rating questions, and they rate you from exemplary to not able to judge. Then they also give a overview of just a summary of their evaluation of you. So this particular one that I'm looking at right now, they gave me a strong, and the highest was outstanding. So obviously you can tell here that I wasn't an outstanding student based on her assessment. But she did say that she would give me, that I was part of the top 10% of students she worked with. And then she did mention that I was equal to the best in the department that this person worked at. So let's start off with, I would say, my least strongest letter of recommendation from the three. And this was from one of my former professors that I took her class. And she is also the writing center director. And the reason why I chose her to write me my letter of recommendation was because I wanted to show my strong writing skills. If you watch some of my previous videos on HGSC, you notice that my GRE scores are really low, and the way that I wanted to offset that was to showcase that I was a strong reader and writer in other aspects of my application aside from the GRE, because obviously my scores were low. So one of the ways I wanted to do that was through a letter recommendation, and I wanted her to talk about my writing skills and then also my potential to be a impactful teacher, because this professor taught the course on how to teach writing at the, I think it was middle school or high school level. And because I wanted to become a English teacher and teach writing, I took this course and I had to write my letter recommendation. So here's the letter recommendation. Dear Graduate Studies Committee, I am writing in support of Ivan Valdovinos, who was applying to your graduate program. Ivan was a student of mine in a course entitled Composition and Rhetoric for Teachers, and he was an exemplary student. Not only is Ivan a strong writer, he is incredibly creative and disciplined. As a student in my course, Ivan turned things in on time, and the quality of what he produced was stellar. As a student in a course designed for pre-service teachers, Ivan was required to create lesson plans, writing assignments, evaluation schemes for the assignments, and in-class activities that were aligned with his teaching goals. Ivan received an A in the course because he completed all of the assigned tasks with excellence. Ivan strives for excellence in everything he does. In asking me to write him a letter recommendation, which I am more than happy to do, he supplied me with an organized packet of materials to help me understand the graduate program he was applying to, and why he thought his prior skills made him a competitive candidate. While I do not need these materials to document that Ivan is a first-rate student and aspiring scholar, the work he did to organize these materials confirms for me that Ivan is not only meticulous, he is respectful. It is without hesitation that I recommend Ivan Valdovinos as a great addition to your graduate program. His skills have prepared him to teach, to research, to write, and to bring the mission of social justice to all that he does. If you have any questions regarding this candidate, I invite you to contact me. So, as you can tell, this was, in my opinion, probably not that strong of a letter recommendation, only because it talked really about maybe generic topics. Like I would have liked her to maybe describe a little bit of my lesson plans that I created, maybe some of, because I did have to teach a lesson in this course, maybe if she described, you know, how I taught the lesson, how what my pedagogy looked like, that would have been a little bit more impactful. She just talked about like, here's kind of like reciting a resume. That's kind of how it sounded. But she was great about, like, one thing I didn't tell her to write, because I did told her to mention a couple things. So I did tell her to talk about my strong writing skills and how I wanted to become a teacher to help students better prepare for college level writing, because I was lacking in my community. So I wanted her to kind of touch base on that aspect of my potential to be a impactful teacher in that sense. But I did not ask her to write about the whole packet I gave to her to write me a letter of recommendation. So I actually physically gave her a packet of my resume, my writing sample. I had like this Excel spreadsheet of all the 10 programs I was applying to. So, and then through that I had very detailed explanations of why I chose those programs. And then, like she mentioned, I gave her information on why I think I'm competitive for each program. And so I didn't tell her to write that part in this letter of recommendation. I'm not sure if that made a difference or not, but I thought that was like a unique thing that she did add that really only applied to me and who I am as a person. And then at the end, she also talked about like my character. She said that I was respectful in that sense, because I was preparing, like I prepared like this packet, like this book for my letter of recommendations, for my letter of rec writers. And so that part of it, you know, showed my character and who I am in terms of my preparation and how I was thinking strategically about graduate school applications, and also about the person who was writing these letters. All right, let's move on to my next letter recommendation, which honestly, I think this was my strongest one. And it's interesting because the letter of rec writer, actually in the rating portion, they didn't give me like exemplary on all of them like the other one did. This person actually gave me half exemplary, and then the other one was one notch down, and they don't really have the rating, but it was between exemplary and then above average. So I thought that was interesting. And then again, my overall summary evaluation was a strong instead of an outstanding, but the person did say that I was in the top 10% of students she worked with. And then she didn't mark me at the highest level for overall ability. She marked me at the will perform at a superior level wherever admitted, instead of equal to the best in my department. So that was interesting. But this letter of rec writer, this colleague, actually works with a bunch of students. And she was from my department of arts and sciences, where my major was located. And she worked with a bunch of students on different organizations and then etc. So I thought that was interesting. So yeah, let's get into the letter. So this letter was actually 2 pages as opposed to the other one, which was only 1. And this one, I thought it was interesting. She directed it to one of the people that I wrote in my statement of purpose that I wanted to work with. So she put, "Dear Dr. Gonzalez," which is the professor that teaches immigration policy and practice, and his name is Roberto Gonzalez, which now he's not teaching at HGSC. He's actually at the University of Pennsylvania. So the letter of rec writer said, "Dear Dr. Gonzalez, it is my great pleasure to write this letter in support of Ivan Baldovino's as his application to the Education Policy and Management Master's Program at Harvard University. I met Ivan about 3 years ago when he applied for a position as a student ambassador for the College of Arts and Sciences at Washington State University. Following a rigorous selection process, Ivan was chosen to be one of 12 new ambassadors, and he has been an exceptional member of the student ambassador group and the campus community. Before I met Ivan, I was impressed by the exceptional support he received in his letter of recommendation. One faculty member wrote, "He has demonstrated outstanding leadership, intellectual curiosity, and dedication and commitment to issues circling social injustice and justice. He shows up every class punctually, thoughtfully prepared, and ready to discuss difficult social issues related to education. He volunteers with the Center for Civic Engagement, where he travels from school to school, tutoring students who need more assistance. Ivan's co-workers also report that he has made connections with students where others have either not had the time, or could not gain trust with the children they tutored. Students who apply to be an ambassador for the College of Arts and Sciences must attend a 5-hour interview process, during which they are observed and assessed by faculty and staff in a personal interview. The most common feedback about Ivan's performance was that he first appeared to be quiet, but when he did speak, his comments, suggestions, and answers were thoughtful and insightful. Our interview team became more impressed with him with each activity, and it was a unanimous decision to offer him a position. He has been an exceptional ambassador and leader and has taken on some of our most difficult and challenging jobs. His communication skills are excellent, but the thing I value most is Ivan's ability to remain authentic, sensitive, and open to others. Prospective students and their parents really relate and respond to him positively. You don't have to spend much time with Ivan to know that he is a young man who was fueled by his passions. As a first-generation student, he knows and appreciates the opportunities available to him. The WSU Trio Student Support Services Program, the College Assistance Migrant Program, and the McNair Achievement Program, and he takes on every opportunity to grow as a person, a student, and a professional. He has embraced new challenges that place him in foreign cultures, including a summer in Japan as a Camp Adventure Youth Services counselor and a semester studying abroad in Antonio de Nebrija University in Madrid, Spain. His resume is filled with examples of his service to Washington State University, his fellow students, the community, and our society. Ivan does not appear to be motivated by personal gain or accolades. Rather, he is fueled by a deep commitment to provide others with the same access and opportunity he has embraced. Ivan has excelled in and out of the classroom. He has a solid grade point average, which is exceptional given his many service, volunteer, research, and leadership activities. He passed the WSU writing portfolio requirement with distinction, an honor awarded to maybe 5% of our students. The writing portfolio is a graduation requirement for all WSU students, and our writing program is nationally recognized, so this is a great accomplishment. Ivan Valdovinos is a dedicated and talented student, leader, and future educator. I have absolutely no reservation in my recommendation that he be offered a position in your Education Policy and Management Master's program, and I am absolutely certain that his future holds great accomplishments as an educator, researcher, leader, and as a passionate and accomplished man. You will not regret your decision to offer this young man admission to Harvard University. So as you can tell, this is a very strong letter. The letter of rec writer, you could tell that she knows me really well. So I worked with this person for, I want to say 3 to 4 years of my undergraduate career. I was at my undergraduate institution for 5 years, and so I worked with her since the inception of this program, this ambassador program. So I worked closely with her for, I want to say 4 years. I think it was 4 years. I think I started this program, or I started being part of this program my sophomore year. So you can tell I was really invested in the mission of this program, and really the mission of this program was for us to advance the success of students from the Arts and Sciences department. And for me, I was more interested in the arts part of it, just because obviously my major was in the arts portion of Arts and Sciences. I was an English major, and so a lot of the time when we think of arts, people that are considered, or people who are pursuing a Bachelor of Arts, I guess the narrative surrounding those majors are that you're not going to be able to get a job afterwards and so forth. And so one thing that she did not mention in this letter of recommendation was how I created this, we called it the mock career fair. And so it was this big event. It started off small and then it expanded really big into this big event where we prepared students to tackle a career fair that our institution held twice per year. And so I was the lead on that. So I delegated different tasks. I met with a bunch of different people on campus, different faculty, different staff members, because I pretty much created this big event for our department. And till this day, they still run it. They changed the name to it. It's not called the Mock Career Fair anymore. They changed the name to it, but really that idea came from me and obviously the colleagues that I had, and we ended up making that happen during one of the, I think it was the first year of this ambassador program, and now since then it's expanded and it got bigger. She did not mention that in this letter of recommendation, which I thought was interesting, but I think this letter of recommendation really showed who I was beyond my accomplishments, right? Like she mentioned here, she mentioned that, I have this extended resume. My resume was 5 pages, the one that I submitted to HGSC. this extended resume of different experiences, both in the country, at my university, in the community, with research, etc. But the thing that she noticed from my, my participation in all these different experiences were not the experience. It was, what was I doing with these experiences, which was advancing academic success and access for underrepresented and marginalized students, which was the purpose of my statement of purpose. So she kind of reaffirmed that purpose in this letter of recommendation. Then she did speak about that intensive interview process that I went through to get into this program. And so she talked about how I seemed like a quiet person, because honestly I'm an introvert and I don't really like to talk to people. I guess maybe I do, I don't know, but I'm really quiet and shy. But I think a lot of my advice, suggestions, my critical thinking on different topics, I think really intentionally about what I want to say, and when I say it, I think it does make an impact. And she noticed that through my interview and then beyond the interview, right? So you can tell that this person really knew me, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. I want you to find people that are going to vouch for you and that are going to look beyond your resume, look beyond your statement of purpose, look beyond your test scores, because letter of recommendations should bring life to your application and not just reiterate your resume, because that's already another part of your application. They're already going to see your resume. What these letters should be doing, they should be telling a different story about you. And this could be about your character, especially if you're applying to an education school. Education schools are like feelings, emotions are part of conversations you're going to have as a PhD student. They're going to be part of your research that you're going to be conducting. Even though we think we want, our research to be objective, in my opinion, I don't think it is. And so you want to show why you care, why you're passionate about the issues you are trying to tackle, that you're writing your statement of purpose. You want to have someone else reaffirm those for you. And I think that this letter did a good job of doing that. And just to sum up here, I chose this letter of rec writer because I wanted them to showcase my leadership skills. And I think they did that really well in the letter. The last letter was from one of my research mentors. And again, when this person assessed in the rating part of it, I didn't get the exemplary. This person actually gave me majority above averages and 3 exemplary check marks, and then 1 between there. So, and then in the overall summary of the evaluation, the person gave me a strong, and then they actually they rated me really low actually on this one. So they said that performance should be up to average of most graduate students / peers. So I was like right in the middle in terms of the question, how do you rate the applicant in overall ability and promise in comparison with other students at the same level of training and experience? So as you can tell, all of my ratings just varied, right? I wasn't exemplary for everyone. But let's get into the letter of recommendation. Dear Selection Committee, it is my pleasure to write this letter in support of Mr. Ivan Valdovino's application to pursue his MA in Education Policy and Management at Harvard Graduate School of Education. I was Mr. Valdovino's mentor for his Summer Research Institute project during the 2014 summer session at the University of Arizona. I have been supervising students in this and the UA's McNair program since 2009, and I can say that Mr. Valdovino's is one of the most engaged, committed, driven, curious, and disciplined students. It has been my pleasure to work with him. Mr. Valdovinos came to the UA from Washington State University already interested in exploring issues of men of color in higher education. Many have documented the declines in men enrolling in post-secondary education, but it is not well understood why this trend is occurring. Initially, I hesitated to be Mr. Valdovino's advisor on his SRA project because I was traveling a lot during the summer, and I questioned whether or not I would be able to adequately support him. After reading Mr. Valdovino's statement of purpose for the program, I had no doubt that he would be able to thrive in the program even if my presence was sporadic. Coming from a family of migrants raking the orchards of Washington, Mr. Valdovinos is not only attending but thriving at WSU, and this is a testament to his remarkable work ethic. Prior to arriving at the UA, Mr. Valdovinos was already vigorously reading the existent literature on the subject, and this allowed him to hit the ground running when he arrived on campus. This stands in stark contrast to the experiences of many of my colleagues who also mentor summer students, where getting them to do a pre-program preparation is next to impossible. Mr. Valdovinos truly wanted to produce the best research product possible, and he was willing to do whatever that required, even in the short amount of time in the summer program. During the summer, Mr. Valdovinos and I met on a weekly basis, and I was impressed by both the progress he made on his project, as well as his engagement with the subject matter. He was always asking difficult questions, exploring new scholarship, while creatively analyzing some of my existent transcript data. The final product was a very interesting exploration of Latino students, their academic struggles, and their help-seeking behaviors. While both the male and female students in the study tended to have similar academic struggles, the men tended to avoid asking for help or asking after it was too late, which was frequently related to help being viewed as unmanly. This simple finding is a critical, important, and underexplored area in the discussions regarding men of color in higher education. Yes, men of color are struggling academically, and in this instance, they exacerbated the problem by avoiding the simple step of asking for help. It was my pleasure to see Mr. Valdovinos develop this project during SRI, and he did an excellent job defending his thesis in both an oral and poster presentation. He deserves an incredible amount of credit for this accomplishment because, again, I was not as present as I like to be to support my summer students. In closing, Mr. Valdovinos is a very dedicated student with an amazing backstory, and ultimately he wants to use his education to give back to his family and community. For these reasons, I support Mr. Valdovinos' application to the Education Policy and Management program at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Alright, so this letter recommendation was a little bit it was more to the point, and it was really research heavy, right? So this person talked about my experience being his mentee in this Summer Research Institute program that I did at a different university than my own. And so they talked a lot about how this professor was really busy in the summer in terms of just their personal research agenda. And so they didn't have enough time to really mentor me, so I worked on this on my own. So that really shows the community that I'm able to, work on projects on my own without having too much direction or too much help. And so this professor really talked about that, how, I started conducting research really before I even landed in Tucson at the institution. So he had given me a task of reading some books and literature that related to the project I was going to do. So just kind of reading the behind the scenes literature on the topic. And so I did that before me even stepping foot on campus. And so when I was on campus, I was able to just I met with him, and then we kind of came up with an action plan, and I started working on the project. And so that's what he was really getting at with this letter. He was just kind of trying to show that I was a type of student that didn't need much direction, and in grad school, that's really what you do. Especially at the PhD level, you're not going to be meeting with your advisor every week, or some people do. I don't. You're not going to be meeting with them consistently, so they want to know that you're going to be able to take the initiative and conduct the rigorous research, finish your coursework, finish the program, because it is an individualized program, especially at the PhD level. You're working on these things on your own, and you might not have as much direction as you might need. So this letter of recommendation really was a testament to that I was able to take initiative, take direction with limited support. Not that I'm saying that you shouldn't be asking for support in your graduate program, which you definitely should do if you need the support, but this was telling the committee that I was capable of doing that. And then he talked about my findings and how those were a gap in the literature, and how and then I wrote about this actually as well in my statement of purpose, so it kind of complemented that. And in the statement of purpose, I kind of talked about how I wanted to continue to do this type of work in my graduate program. And so I made a really good connection between the statement of purpose and this letter. Obviously, I opted, so when you are requesting letters of recommendation, they're going to ask you if you want to waive your rights to examine the letter. So I said yes, which means that I did not want access to these letters. Now that I think it's been like 5 or 6 years since I finished the program, I have access to it, obviously, because I have it right here in my hands. But yeah, so I didn't know that he was gonna write this, and I still was able to kind of complement some of the things that he was saying in the statement of purpose. Alright, you guys, so that concludes my video on sharing the letters of recommendation that got me into the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I hope that me reading these letters gives you an insight on maybe what you should be asking your letter of rec writers to mention in your letters of recommendation. But also, some of you have reached out to me and told me that in your countries, especially outside of the United States, it's not a norm that these professors and faculty that you are asking for letters of recommendation, that they know how to write a letter of rec. So I'm hoping that these letters also help you with helping your letter of rec writers write theirs for you. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comment section, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.